thank you for coming today. This is the kickoff of our 7th annual Poetry Week at MISS and in the community at large. So Professor Rana Issa and myself are collaborators for the International Poetry Gathering of Monterey. We have monthly events the last Sunday of the month with open mics. So, and we are open to all languages. So I think it makes us really unique and rich, is that it's, we really like to hear the sounds of other languages and poems written in the original languages. So we often have Chinese, we often have Spanish, we often have Arabic, English of course, sometimes we have Turkish. On Thursday of this week we'll be having a lovely special event also at Holland Center in the evening. Tell your friends. 6:30 to 8, and that will include Turkish and Arabic poetry with the traditional nai, which is an Arabic flute, the saz, which is an elongated string instrument, and the oud, also a classical Arabic instrument, and the bandir, it's a big Turkish drum. So we've got music and poetry, and we see that this event will be called the Lyrical Lines, and we see that all of these connections between the lyricism and the words are so integrated, and that is what captivates us as poets and listeners and poetry lovers. So we're very honored that we have 3 very seasoned and talented, lovely ladies with us today. We will be reading in the order. I'll tell you more about them. We'll start with Patrice Vecchione, who does so much for us in the schools and is a multimedia collage artist and has a show now at the bakery Sweet Elena's, thank you, in Sand City that you can go view. Laura Schulkind does also these types of gatherings at the Henry Miller Library and at Tor House in Carmel, is quite a literary champion in our community. And Adela Najarro, who is the director of the Círculo de Poetas, of which Rana and I are also members, which is a circle of poets. There's many who are speakers of Spanish, but some who are just English speakers or other speakers. So before we introduce them more fully, I wanted to just share a little bit about the fact that this month that we're celebrating is National Poetry Month. So that means poetry is happening everywhere in our libraries and cafes and universities and all around, all across the country. And so our national poet laureate is Arthur Z, and I got to meet him in New Mexico this past January. So these are signed copies of his books, and I was really excited that we had a brief chat. And I learned now how to pronounce the word shu, which means it's the character also that Copper Canyon Press uses on their chop, which means both word and temple, but also poetry, which I think is beautiful. Because also in Arabic we have
sha.
So
we have like one additional sound.
One action, which means
means feelings, basically.
feelings.
Yeah. So poetry is your feelings, what you're feeling.
Poetry is your feeling. And thank you to Wes White, who came today to videotape us and to be able to share the recording for those who aren't here today. So I thought I would just read a couple of works from his Silk Dragon too. These are translations from Chinese poets, mainly from the 8th, like is in the number 8 century, 700s in China. The first one is Wang Wei, and this is Xinyi Village. At the tips of branches, hibiscus, opening red calyxes, deep in the mountains, a stream, hut, yet no one. The flowers bloom and fall, bloom and fall. By Wang Wei. This is from Du Fu, Spring View. Remember, 8th century. Spring View. The nation is broken, but hills and rivers remain. Spring is in the city, grasses and trees are thick. Touched by the hard times, flowers shed tears. Grieved by separations, birds are startled in their hearts. The beacon fires burn for 3 consecutive months. A letter from home would be worth 10,000 pieces of gold. As I scratch my white head, the hairs become fewer, so scarce that I try in vain to fasten them with a pin. So I just thought I'd start with these kind of more ancient Chinese poets that also resonate with today. Unfortunately, like we can still feel nations broken, but yet spring comes, right? Spring. So we're celebrating the season of spring. I will save another one for later, but this text is called Conflict Resolution for Holy Beings by Joy Harjo, who is another national level poet laureate, also whom I had the privilege of meeting, and I will save one of hers for at the end. She is a very talented spoken artist and musician. She plays the saxophone and she also plays the indigenous native flute, and sometimes all together, flute, reading, and poetry. It's like very impressive. But I'm bringing up her particular title, Conflict Resolution for Holy Beings, because our little event here today is also sponsored by the Conflict Transformation Collaborative at Middlebury and by our International Poetry Gathering of Monterey. So I would like to invite our first lady stitching fabric and stitching words together, Patrice Vecchione. I'll let you maybe introduce yourself more since we're such a small crowd instead of reading a full bio, if that's okay. But thank you so much for your attention, and please.
By way of introduction, I'll just say that I have, as Marie referenced, an art show up at Sweet Elena's Bakery. It's a series of large collages. They're each about 4 feet tall, called The Guardians, because I made these because I felt like we needed to bring in other ways of knowing what is true other than what is being presented to us by the cruelty of our country right now and of the world. And so I'll pass these out. And then I'm leading some women's writing workshops in my garden over the thanks, Ron. Over the summer. So if you're interested, please help yourself. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm happy to be here. Very thank you. I'm going to start off with a piece of prose that morphs into a poem. For the last 11 years, I've been a columnist for our local daily paper called the Monterey Herald. I write a column each month about taking a walk of one kind or another. And oftentimes in the last year plus, I've been infiltrating my political stand into my work, and I will continue to do so, though this one is this is a nature spring poem. This is for National Poetry Month. It's called The Meadowlark Walk. Years ago and far away, I took an early morning walk, one I'd taken many times before and would take many times again. But really this particular day, the walk took me. It's a memory I return to because of the poetry it had in it in more ways than one. To get to this place where the walk begins requires a several-hour drive northeast of my Monterey home. The last part is on a small, windy highway with both no views and expansive views. It goes through towns that are barely towns, where honey and eggs are sometimes sold. But I never stop. I want to get where I'm going. So continue along with the river on my left and then on my right and back again. I've driven this when the riverbed was crack dry and when it rushed faster than my fastest thoughts, nearly overflowing its banks. When the highway ends, I turn onto a dirt road. Eventually that road ends at an old hotel where I park and unpack and settle into a room near the hot springs pool that gives off a sulfur smell and invites me in. I don't take my walk then. It's a morning thing I'm after, because mornings are always the best part of any day, or so I have come to conclude after getting to live with many of them. Coffee and breakfast had, hot spring soap taken, sunscreen lather, water bottle filled, snack packed, laces laced, wide brimmed hat atop my head, and lipstick lipped because that's the way I go. No need for a phone except for picture taking, because blessing upon blessing, there's no cell service there. First, it's a flat northerly dirt road that I walk on, and then comes the left turn, which is when the road goes pretty much up unremittingly until you get to the top. When my feet are healthy, up is what I like best. It is then a walker is reminded that she has a body capable of doing difficult things. The heart accelerates, the lungs move in and out, the arms swing, the mind gets joyous, doubt and anxiety flee. Once, just at that left turn, I heard a loud, snuffly sound, turned to see an enormous, long-tusked black boar snuffling his snout in the dirt, and oh, did I pick up the pace. Another time, the wind blew so hard it vanquished sorrow and denied my head its hat. More than once I've had to remove my top layers even on cold days while making the climb. On this particular day, my way up offered nothing out of the ordinary, no more extraordinary than the experience of being alone in a familiar, beloved, natural place, willing to let me enter without rebuff. Oak trees stud the hillsides. There are grasses of various types, tall or short depending on the season, green or brown depending on the season. In spring, of course, there are wildflowers. For most of the way, to get a good glimpse of the sky requires tilting back the head. The road curves here and there, and sometimes other roads or trails come off the main one, but they are always for another day. By the time the top is in view, I'm sweat covered and my breath is labored, but I don't stop right away. No, I know to keep going, and it is here where I begin to walk, mostly with my ears. And almost always, it comes. And when it does, my heart says it's going to pop out of my chest and to just deal with it. Meadowlarks, I'm writing this in the wee hours of the morning at a computer, and those meadowlarks might as well be in the next room for how clear and loud their voices are. Anais Nin wrote that she wrote in order to taste life twice or more, twice or many more. If you have never heard a meadowlark, it kind of goes like this: a high-pitched flute-like ripple, a melodic descending warble that's followed by a pause during which I have to hold my breath. It's one thing to hear a single meadowlark, but that is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about an entire choir of meadowlarks. I have to stand there for the longest time glued to the spot by song. And on this particular day, that is just what happened. It was when the morning was heating up that I turned back, leaving the birds, to walk my way down to the old hotel, that the thing I'll never forget began to happen. Now, if you aren't a writer, if you don't write poems, this may seem inconsequential, and I'm sorry, because it wasn't. A phrase of yet unwritten poem came to me, and I tossed it off like the merest twig stuck to my pants. But it wouldn't leave me alone. It came back and back. Okay, I thought, I'll hold on to you. So I said the line over and over again until another phrase and then another came that I didn't hesitate to receive. I had a whole sentence now, and I repeated it since I felt it might become something. This went on and on. I had nearly a whole poem. By the time I made it back to my room, it was a whole poem, secure at least temporarily in my heart head. I bounded my last few steps till paper and pen were in my hand, and I took dictation. Here is that poem for you. Sing for your supper. What if singing were how you earned your living, day after day, year after year? The sky above you is blue. Clouds billow like white dresses. They are yours, but you do not own them. Your voice flickers like a pinwheel of color. Old uncle has his tune, as do your sisters and cousins. Every answer has its question. Songs, little melodies are your job, for which you never earn any money. You live in a house in a tree. Rarely do your feet touch the ground. Imagine. I really didn't think, it was going to really, at first, anything was going to come of it. I thought, oh, it's just one line. Just forget about it. I'll read you now two recent poems. This is called, this is a weird thing. It's a weird thing. It's called Mrs. Tomorrow Promise. I grew up my early childhood in New York City, and we lived in Washington Heights, which is north of Harlem and south of the Bronx. I went to Mother Cabrini School, and at the foot of the altar, there was Mother Cabrini, dead and embalmed or entombed or whatever she was. And it was a very odd place to go to school for me. So this poem, in part, takes place sitting in the classroom at Mother Cabrini School. It's called Mrs. Tomorrow Promise. When I closed the books of my eyes, wind entered as though I was a prairie, that light, that story. When I felt smaller than the crumbs from yesterday's lunch, I held on to tomorrow, though tomorrow when it came was empty of promise, though promise was the name I'd been instructed to give it, Mrs. Tomorrow Promise. How to live with that? So later, when instructed, I taught myself to distrust and then refuse the lesson with a deliberateness I admire yet. Instead, looking out the window for what might be reliable, the river's promise beyond the trees, the plea of water, I paid attention to that with all my shiny silver coins, all the pages of my books. Even when most days Through the window, beside my seat in most seasons, the river was only the shadow of an idea, wrinkling and unwrinkling, like so many stories. But I believed in the burbling of it, a conversation I leaned into. When fall came, at first no more than a single leaf curling, uplifted, colorful as the sunset, I fell. Not all order has been dismantled. I count on the things I can and those uncountable, even when anxiously aware of warning the snapped fingers of change. We all in our human nature do. Finally, each year when the chill air made the branches leafless, they gladly bared themselves. At least I thought of it that way, making room for what would come next and for me to see past the street to the traveling water, the occasional boat. Water, the wish that when met is still wished for. When my knees buckled under me from the weight of sorrow and the coming snow, I lifted my face, sang to the trees and the birds whose name I didn't know, sang back to me before returning to their highways of sky. When the ground threatened to consume my feet, I stayed low down so the earth could be certain I was not running away, though with nowhere to go, we all were. When I became the winter, it was easy to do, bitter edges and ice, there was little gladness. I was never embraced. And spring, that shimmer of memory, tight-fisted buds, and the sweet scent of pollen making, coaxing the waking bees in their striped furry dresses came out into the day. Something akin to brightness was conjured. When I was summer, dressed in pink petals and wide skirts, my days were long and slow and wet. I overheard the coupled whisperings coming from the tall grass and the rain-slicked leaves. Then I was revealed and celebrated. It was a long time ago that I was summer. Still, I'm a fan of promise and of pink petals and of being covered in something sweet. When the future comes, mark my words with diamond or dung, I'll be past it. It's a rather odd thing. I want to read you two children's poems now. I have taught poetry to children for 50 years, since I was 18. And this was written a couple of months ago by a little girl in the 4th grade at a school in Pacific Grove. Happiness. My happiness is not often. My happiness is not always happy. That is why it clicks to sadness. It clicks to a black hole that I can't seem to get out of. But then I feel courage. I feel power and love, and I see a light to set me free.
Wow.
And that's the first poem she had ever written. Yeah. And this poem, I came upon this recently. It was written about 10 or 12 years ago. I taught for many years at Captain Cooper's School in Big Sur. And the children who go to school there, their parents or their grandparents are mostly from Oaxaca, the area around Oaxaca and Mexico. And the parents work for Ventana and Post Ranch mostly. And if you have ever been to Ventana or Post Ranch, please keep in mind that the families do not live in the accommodations you may have stayed in. And I read this today because of the irony that was unintended. You know, children don't do irony, really. But the irony is there nonetheless. This was written by Jessica Rincon in the 5th grade at Captain Cooper. It's called Safely with My Mom. Darkness starts spreading through the world. I know I'm safe because I'm with my mom. You can hear the whoosh of the darkness getting closer and closer. The darkness grabs my mom. In the morning, I jump out of bed and shout, "No!" My mom comes to my room and says, "What happened?" I told her everything that happened. She said it was probably a dream. After all, what could happen to my family? I mean,
Yikes.
yeah, it's just, yeah. This poem is on exhibit at the some county building in Salinas. I don't even know what it is. It was pouring the day I went and delivered it. It's a collage and a poem together. It's called Said the. I have 2 more poems for you. Said the feet to the socks, your softness comforts us. Said the feet and the socks to the shoes, you hold us just close enough. Said the feet, the socks, and the shoes to the earth, never once have you run out on us. And the last poem is not a poem that I wrote. This was written by a great poet, work I admire, from the country of Guyana. Her name is Grace Nichols, and the way I'm going to read it is the way the words are written on the page. In Guyana, people speak English, but the accent is very different than Central Coastal California. And I read this in honor of Mother's Day that's coming in a couple of weeks. It's called Wa Me Mudder Do. Make me tell you wa me mudder do, wa me mudder do, wa me mudder do. Me mudder pound plantain, make foo-foo. Me mudder catch crab, make callaloo stew. Make me tell you wa me mudder do, wa me mudder do, wa me mudder do. Me mudder beat hammer, me mudder turn screw. She paint chair red, then she paint it blue. Make me tell you wa me mudder do, wa me mudder do, wa me mudder do. Me mudder chase bad cow with one shoe. She paddled down river and she owned canoe. Ain't have nothing that me mudder can't do. Ain't have nothing that me mudder can't do. Make me tell you. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. That was so fun to hear that last cadence. And
Yes, really
also, I was traveling with you to Tasahara on the first one, yes?
No, it's Wilbur Hot Springs.
Wilbur, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was identifying some Tasahara landmarks.
Well, it's similar, yeah.
Similar,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, so we're in full spring mode and a little taste of tributes to the mothers for Mother's Day upcoming. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is Laura Schulkind. She hails from Big Sur, and before that she was on the East Coast. I love in her bio on her website how she talks about the collision or her 2 lives of being both a poet and a former lawyer, and why those 2 happily coexist. And it's because of the precision of language and our need for being precise with our word. So with that, please welcome Laura Schulkind.
Thank you so much for having me and organizing this week of poetry, and it's lovely to be here. I approach planning a reading the same way I plan a dinner menu. I want there to be lots of different delicious tastes, but where they all make sense together. So I look for a group of poems that share some common thread, while still varying in theme and style and form. For this reading, I thought about how we are gathered together under the tent of the International Poetry Gathering, the importance of creating and nurturing these spaces, and all the bad stuff that happens when we fail, as individuals, as societies, and as nations. Isolation, exploitation, violence. So these poems explore interconnectedness across cultures, belief systems, economies, the good and the bad. I have also done my best to start with the ugly and end with the beautiful, but things are always a bit more complicated than that. So, shopping for a pair of jeans. White shelves display neat stacks of folded jeans organized by size, cut, wash, color. The photos above the shelves, a rainbow of models, illustrate the options. Low-rise, mid-rise, high-rise, ultra-high-rise, overalls, relaxed, baggy, skinny, shaping, curvy, flared, bell-bottom, boot-cut, straight leg, wide leg, cargo, cropped, cuffed, capri, zipper, fly button, button fly, pull-on, flat pockets, patch pockets, classic 5 pockets, back pockets, no pockets, stone washed, acid washed, pre-washed, bleach, white, light blue, dark blue, and black. Propped on an easel between the wall of jeans and a rack of embroidered peasant blouses, a sign informs shoppers that these are certified fair trade clothes. One stack looks promising, bootcut, low rise, deep blue, I model above, proudly graying. I pull out a pair, feel the soft, heavy twill. The tag says they were made in Bangladesh. Then as I unfold them, I see the slash, straight across, mid-thigh, right leg, damaged in shipping, I think, and reach for a second pair. But it has the same slash, in precisely the same spot, same length, same fuzzy fray at the edges, 2 pair with the same damage. I pull out a third, a fourth, a fifth, each of these fair trade jeans from Bangladesh slashed. And I can't help wondering what the sewers in their fair trade blue jean collective must think. Sewing a perfect pair of jeans, double stitching each seam, bar tacking the belt loops, adorning each pocket with copper rivets and orange top stitching, then passing it down the line to the slasher, distressing with such precision these well-sewn clothes to be sent across an ocean to shoppers who will pair them with peasant blouses. This poem is called There is a Road, and it begins with an epigraph of how Jane Crawford's minister addressed a letter to her in Thornton Wilder's play Our Town. The address is this: Jane Crawford, the Crawford Farm, Grover's Corners, Sutton County, New Hampshire, United States of America, continent of North America, Western Hemisphere, the Earth, the solar system, the universe, the mind of God. And the character Rebecca in the play recites this and then marvels that the postman brought it just the same. There is a road on the outskirts of Arroyo Grande, California, whose name makes me think of the letter sent to Jane Crawford by her minister. The name I won't say, as if after a father of 10, whose living descendants still fill the valley and beyond. Suffice it to say, it is an ancient name, a Portuguese name, carried across the Atlantic from the Azores over a century ago. Suffice it to say, it could be the name of 1,000 roads. I want to mail a letter there to any of the tidy homes arranged on groomed lawns with swings and flower beds and hand-painted mailboxes, and address it like this: Occupant, then the name of the road, Arroyo Grande, California, formerly a strawberry farm, planted and harvested for 70 seasons, first by this father of 10 and his wife, who arrived with nothing, then their children and grandchildren, until the bank took it over and carved it up into lots, taking everything, even his name, for the road. See if the postman brings it just the same. This next poem you know, Rana and Marie have heard this, but it seemed fitting for today and my thinking about our interconnectedness and when it goes well and when it does not. It unfolded from a drive that my husband and I took from Palm Springs to 29 Palms. We wanted to go to 29 Palms to see the public art there. The buildings are covered with murals. But we decided to try to get there from Palm Springs without going on any highways, which meant we went through a town that I did not know existed until we found it, called Mecca. And this is the poem that came from this drive, from Mecca to 29 Palms. Sorry, my mouth is very dry. 2 towns in the California desert, settled by those who settle deserts, those with nothing left to lose, those with everything to lose, squeezing hope from stone, digging to the source of dreams. In one, growers imagined palm fronds whispering at night, traveled to Arabia for seed, planted Deglet Nur and Majul and Halwi and Thori, called it Mecca. In the other, homesteaders claimed their 160 acres of dust, accepted the challenge to last 5 years, called it 29 Palms for what was right there in front of them. In the first came the cyclic pilgrimage of pickers to this eastern edge of the Coachella Valley. Some took root, built homes, a school, a church, but were treated like weeds. Fought to stay on this dry earth, surrounded by waste dumps and tumbleweed, Hernandez, Arroyo, Benitez, Duarte, and one. Still not many stay, the town swelling when the date palms are heavy with fruit. In the second, they ranched and prospected, Prudy, Bagley, Campbell, Bixby. Built homes, a school, a church. Founded a clinic for soldiers after World War I, the dry air good for their mustard-gassed lungs. Perhaps from this came the town's discovery of what grows best in that dry heat, soldiers. They flourished, grew the biggest Marine base in the U.S., the town swells with young men. A mural in the center of town on the side of the Napa Auto Parts building presents Desert Storm Victory Parade and Homecoming. In it, the Marines of 29 Palms are returning from Iraq, ancient mother of all date palms, traced back to 4000 BC. Another mural shows them toppling a statue of Hussein. These painted soldiers, how many drifted over from Mecca, from all our imaginary Meccas, on a wind that smelled like change, a few sweet dates in their pockets. And what did they think as their planes approached Arabia? Desert and date palms stretched before them, knowing they came to kill. And where are they now? Do they drift with the harvest? Do they cry out when heat lightning rips the sky? Do they brave the desert air and gas? So maybe a little dark humor for dark times. My next poem, Fat of the Land, takes on new meaning for Beverly Hills. I don't allow myself very many rant poems. I don't think they usually make very good poetry, but this is a rant. Because when it comes to liposuction, I rant. Fat of the Land takes on new meaning for Beverly Hills. Of course, Dr. Magic chose Beverly Hills' hottest dinner spot, Say Cheese, to launch his much-debated Fat of the Land project. Honey-tanned plastic surgeon to the stars, he gushes to the cameras while his bustling assistant zooms in the mayor of Dadieso, and on cue, the chic LA crowd shouts the Ghanaian greeting, Itesen, Itesen, for the occasion. There I was doing a routine liposuction, watching the fat disappear into a waste container, when it hit me, this fat can have a purpose. Dr. M explains as he waves to the mayor, picking a sister village for the project was the last detail. Now, barely a year later, Dr. M has filled 5 shipping containers specially designed to transport human fat. In attendance, director of renowned NGO Stop Hunger in Its Tracks, SHIT, applauds the effort. This offers a way for Americans to truly give of themselves. Their fat can bring heat to a hut in winter, provide fuel to cook the family fufu. Executive chef of Say Cheese, an icon of French cuisine, Paul Dubois, personally greets the ebullient guests with trays of his beloved buttery morsels. A year ago, I was ready to close. Everyone giving up the fromage, the crème, the beurre, but now I am booked a month in advance. Everyone wants to make the fat. And everyone is right. Sanders, McDonald, and Bell have crashed the party, bullhorn in hand. Leaders of the multicultural group for universal lipo provision, GULP, they have interrupted the festivities to demand affordable access to Dr. M's fat donation program. Hey, hey, ho, ho, our fat too has got to go, rings through the air while the mayor looks increasingly perplexed. It really is the modern day vomitorium, isn't it? Dirty money. 90% of US dollar bills carry a trace of cocaine. Similar results worldwide. From this, other inquiries. Bills tested for every illicit drug, every contaminant, every fear, heroin, morphine, crystal meth, PCP, amphetamines, nicotine, bacteria, all there. Telling us what? Not that a lot of drugs are sold for a lot of cash, or that nestled in tills, bills, rub against each other, share their secrets. We hardly needed research to tell us that. Newsflash, dollar bills live a nomad's life, touch rich and poor, carry all of human joy, human suffering there in the paper and ink. So why no test for these, the pentimenti, the added value below the dirt, the lucre, the fear, hidden stories waiting for remembrance? 3 times I smoothed and crisped the dollar bill. 3 times slid it into the arrowed slot before the machine accepted it, delivered the soda I would not drink, but had risen to buy, to do something while I waited for them to tell me what I already knew, that I was losing this baby. So many years later, reading about ridiculous cocaine tests on dollar bills, I remember this, that it was 3 times that I watched the bill disappear. And now I imagine it, imprinted with the pain of that day, folded in the dark of someone's wallet, and suddenly long to have it back. Know I could love unconditionally the one who has it, if only he would bring it to me, press it into my open palm.
Wow.
This is letter to Gabriel Garcia Marquez while sheltering, a COVID poem. Dear Gabriel, the morning glories have coiled through the window hinge. I cut them back. They reappear. The guava tree presses against the loosening panes and scratches at the glass at night when the wind picks up. I woke to a radiant filament stretched from sash lock to bed lamp, a plump brown spider making her way back to the windowsill, stash of mummified houseflies. I must write to you about this solitude. A letter from this new Macondo, city of mirrors, sent across the Black River. Would you say, it's just been a few months, 99 years and change to go. I fear we are much further along than that, oceans rising for almost a century. And consider Melquiades, your gypsy Merlin, astounding the first Macondanos with the wondrous telescope from Amsterdam. He said, in a short time, man will be able to see what is happening in any place in the world without leaving his own house. I read this now, and across the distance feel his gaze. He looked through the lens and saw us here in our growing isolation, peering into screens to see across the world, screens that had become mirrors like windows after dark. How did you know? So moving out of isolation, a few short poems about connectedness, which I noticed were all poems to women. Just happened to be that. But we are connected. I watch the tightrope walker high above me, arms spread, and cannot help tilting just as she tilts, leaning when she leans, catching my breath and tensing my legs to hold myself to the ground each time she wobbles. We are connected. Her walk is my walk. Her fall would be my fall. And when she arrives safely at the far perch, it is a gift. For a moment, I am safe. 4H. The house was brick and square, just like the houses on either side, each kitchen window looking into each kitchen window. The house made smaller by the massive furniture transported from another time and place, dark hand-carved woods, a colossal china cabinet encroaching into the living room, the dining room tables spanning almost wall to wall. Sometimes she seemed just as surprised as the furniture to be there, rolling out phyllo dough while the city buses rumbled by, all 6 feet of her bent over the table, the pin dwarfed by her massive, long-fingered hands, hands made to span the strings of a lyre or grip the reins of a chariot. When she cooked, I'd come up from the windowless, low-ceilinged basement where we both pretended I was studying with the eldest son, and offer to help. Not because I could do much, but because it pleased her to show me how, and it pleased me to please her. I would squeeze the lemons for the avgelemino, stir in the ribbon of egg. Every few months, she would muscle the couch to a different wall, push the chairs to a new angle, rearrange the lamps, the coffee table, the sideboard, the end tables, the ottomans, the pipe stand, the hall tree, the magazine rack, searching for some overlooked crevice of space, a place to stretch and breathe, a way out of this labyrinth. Oh, how she would fly. I can't pass the blue bus. Up out of the valley, the road curves steeper and steeper, up toward the windmills and their promises. I keep up my speed, leave behind the unbreathable heat that bakes the valley floor, bend with the road up to the windmills, until I see the blue bus, lumbering up ahead, breathless, heart-stopping blue, and know I will pass it if I don't slow down, which I do, because I can't pass the blue bus. Carrying men, once slippery, wet, invisible, untouchable, behind mesh-covered windows. Can't watch it shrink to a tiny blue dot behind me and then disappear. You ask why I don't love you anymore. How can I love without a heart? There on the blue bus, full of mothers' hearts. Keening for Celia. In one picture, he lies tanned and muscled on the beach, smiling at the camera. Bright sun, face in shadow. He could have been any of our dark-haired, olive-skinned sons. In one picture, her young arm wraps casually around his toddler frame. Luxuriant in unsuspecting love, unmeasured time, she does not hold him fast. and when she wails, it rises up out of me. Two more poems. Magical Thinking, my Peru poems. The faded bed curtain is tied back, showing us the small adobe alcove where she slept. Her narrow bed fitted wall to wall, a woven coverlet the color of llamas. Above her wooden cross, her rosary. Below, the tile floor, worn from centuries of knees. And on the bed, a pair of Levi's neatly pressed, a small blanket wrapped in plastic, bright white socks folded like snowballs. All left that through these worldly things, worldly laws might be broken. Time, space, decay, the gravity that holds them to the bed. Bits of wool and cotton made conduits for the healing touch. Esperanza indesmayable, hope unfailing. People file into the cool, darkened room, cross themselves, take pictures with their cell phones, return to the bright heat of the courtyard. I wonder if they're saving their photos to the cloud. And if so, how they reconcile what I cannot. My mind goes to Johann Zahn, inventing the camera an ocean away at the same point in time that she walked these cloistered halls, reverent student of light, even as he lived his own monastic life. And Newton, too, devout as he formed the physical laws that make sense of my world. I cannot fathom it, even more that Galileo, father of science itself, would see no paradox, while I search his map of the heavens and see no heaven there. Still, I cannot turn away. The owners of these lifeless things somewhere surrendering to tubes and syringes, while their hopes and miseries are here, folded into each article resting on the bed, absorbing its woolen scent. Months later, Lena and I are drinking wine. She laughs with her head thrown back, and I think she sounds strong and upbeat. Then she says she wants to go to Peru to see her mother's birthplace and must see the worry in my face, because she puts a reassuring hand on mine and tells me she isn't planning on dying anytime soon. And yet, I suddenly remember the beatified Sor Ana de los Angeles Monteagudo, her bed, the items left there, the coolness of the darkened room, hope and dust dancing a slow dance together in the dim light, and find myself wishing with all my heart, that I had something of Lena's then, something to lay upon the bed. I have my latest book, The Long Arc of Grief, here if anyone wants to take a look at it. Lena did the cover to the book. And this poem is the first poem in it as well. My last poem, also from Peru, Machu Picchu. Twin flat-bottomed bowls still sit in the temple remains, carved from the granite hauled up to this tip of earth touching the sky. Shallow vessels transformed by water into ancient star mirrors used to study the heavens. I knew the moment I saw them where I would be, night of the next new moon. My backyard, across the world, bent over the bird bath, tucked in among the lilies. I had never before imagined it, standing in darkness, water still, not a ring or ripple. The night comes, and it is cold and clear, the water black and full of stars. I look to find their sky in my sky, search this inch of water holding the universe for the light that connects us.
Thank you. What a beautiful journey you took us on. Thank you so much. It's both the culinary experience, and I can speak from experience that Laura is an excellent chef. So she gave us a really rich feast and also time travel. I really felt like I went forward and backwards in Galileo, and thank you for the letter to Gabrielle. And I'm actually glad that we have a videographer so I can revisit some of those beautiful words. Thank you so much. Our next poet, Adela Najarro, hails from her ancestral roots of Nicaragua, is part of the Círculo de Poetas, has been on a traveling tour with Somos Chicanas, Chicanex, anthology, and many more. All of our poets have books. Some of the books are here in the library. Patrice's anthology is downstairs in our collection and our display. Laura brought some books, and I think Adela also has some books. So we can comb through those and find some more precious words. So please welcome our next speaker, Adela Najarro.
Well, thank you so much for the invite. It's such a pleasure to be here and to kick off International Poetry Week here in Monterey. You guys are doing great work in bringing poetry alive to the community, so thank you so much. So all of that, so yes, I'm the board president of Círculo de Poetas and Writers, and what's distinctive about our organization is that we are together without a hierarchy. And so everyone is welcome, whether you've published 10 books or you've written your first poem. And we want to create an organization and a community where all voices are heard. So yes, we are majority Latino, but we really are a diverse group. And so for a grant, they asked you, what's the makeup? And it's about 80% Latino and then 20% a little bit of everything else. And if you think about it, I think it's a really, really, truly diverse space. And we are in Santa Cruz and online. So in August, we have our annual conference. So it's held at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History. And then we also have an online component, so anyone, anywhere can participate in our events. And it's pretty simple, Círculo de Poetas and Writers. And the online is Círculo Writers. And so you can find us. Okay. And so personally, I've got this book here, Variations in Blue, and it just came out in 2025. And what the book is about is that all the poems in it are in a series, and they're variations of each other. And then the blue part is a play on, well, like we said, my heritage is from Nicaragua, and Rubén Darío is a very famous poet in Nicaragua. He wrote in the turn of the century, the 20s, something like this. And his most famous book is called Azul, and which is blue. And so I'm kind of doing a nod of my lineage of poetry back to Nicaragua, here in the United States to Nicaragua. But then it's also the blues, things of the challenges of life. The middle section of the book is on domestic violence, a series of poems on domestic violence and recovery. And so I'd like to just read with you just to get a feel of what these variations are. I'll start with the three. There's a series of three called The History of Food. So the history of food. Maybe in a past life I was the dairy maid who, after warming her hands on Bessie's udder, dreamed of petticoats, ribbons, and strudel. Maybe I knocked over the can and spilt the milk on purpose, angry that the sloshing pail wasn't mine. And since I didn't get enough milkshakes, I blossomed within a mother, obsessed with soothing children by whirring up milk, butter, and sugar into fancy eclairs with pastry cream centers. My mother fed me cream cheese lattes laced with formula so that my teeth wouldn't bite her nipples. After drinking my fill, I'd sleep fast under a musical mobile where a cow jumped over an oatmeal cookie moon. Once, to get her attention, I plopped into a bath wearing a new lace dress, then slurped a hazelnut milkshake spiced with a peppermint dollop. When cream rises to the top and becomes cheesecake, little girls fall asleep and without crying. My mother knew this. Cream in particular, such as in ice cream, cream puffs, sweet, tangy mascarpone whips, soothes the savage little girl beast. That never happened. My mother never found pleasure whisking milk, vanilla, and sugar into pudding. On that finca in Nicaragua, there weren't enough beans to go around, and milk curdled too quickly. She did dream about los Estados Unidos, pearl necklaces, silk stockings, and big bands playing. Instead, she found my father. Then there she was, in San Francisco, with a colicky baby, fog floating past her plain but sturdy wool coat. Thank you. Yeah, so that was the history of food, the love and the nurturing that our mothers give us, right? Right? She may not have fed me cream cheese lattes, but she definitely filled me up with love. The history of food, too. When mangoes fall to the ground, ants go on parade. Flies hover. The painted pony down the street gets loose to spend an afternoon with syrupy sweet on its hairy lips, slowly sucking one mango seed dry, then onto another. There are nancites, mamón, jocote, guayaba, aguacate, piña, maderina, y melón. Bananas and mangoes in refrigerated cargo holds. But what about coffee, el café, oro del corazón, y coco y cacao? Australia, India, Polynesia, the Americas, worldwide distribution. It has always been about not rotting on a ship, transit, crossing borders, the tomato and the potato. So many seeds and eyes sprouting, seeds that dry quickly. Place them in soil, and with a bit of water, there you go, a plant loving the sun, a plant growing fragrantly full, a plant turning out tomatoes within 4 months of warm and balmy afternoons, a sugary explosion for the mouth, a cultivated gift from the Americas, and now pizza in a refrigerated freezer. Tear the cardboard box, slice off the plastic wrap, preheat the oven of 425, eat the whole thing, then wonder why you're still hungry. So with that one I was trying to get, thank you. With that one I was trying to get at the history of food and transit and how even though we have so much nowadays, it still seems like it's not enough, right? No matter how much we get, it's still not enough. Okay, the third one, the history of food. Holidays used to be holy days, where penitentes would hoist crosses on shoulders to march around town, a procession. They would fall to their knees, then grind rocks into skin. The truly virtuous flayed themselves, one lash for every thought, deed, and all they had failed to do. Up and down around endless streets, los penitentes' eyes swirled with the ecstasy of pain, pupils wide, like an owl's hunting a mouse scampering in the field. Months later, the mouse, dead and gone, a dusty pellet of fur and bones. Not so for a penitente, roasting green chili for his pork and potato supper. He knew all had been forgiven, for a while at least. Thank you. And that one there is about spirituality, right? And I don't know how much spirituality in there, but you know, in the Catholic Church, there are people who believe that they have to suffer the way Christ suffers, and the more you suffer, the more you're cleaning your body of the earthly sins. And who am I to say that that's not the way to go? Okay, no, I don't want to go that way. But for them, if it works for them, right? Okay, all right. And so the middle section, like I said, is about domestic violence. And I wrote that section because, yes, I am a survivor of domestic violence. And finally, after years and years and years and years and years, like what you're saying about rants, I wrote many rants, but I didn't want to publish the rants, right? So in this book, the middle section starts with the how domestic violence stays inside you and stays with you, even if you've healed, even if you've gone on. And my hope is to have us have a conversation about how we treat each other, about how women are viewed throughout the world. And so the book, it's in the book. I'm not saying this to brag, but people have told me they have been highly moved by those poems and that they resonate. And so it's in the book. But what I'm going to read is because I want to show you the variations. So sometimes, and I'll show the poem, sometimes the poems are in sections. So I'm playing with this idea of variation. And I think that's because, and maybe that's why we all love poetry, is that maybe we feel that knowledge, that life, that experience can't be captured into one little thing, right? So we write poems that are open-ended and have image and metaphor. Right? And so, you know, I write these variations because, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. Why don't we look at it like that? Right? And that seems to match how we learn and grow over time. So this is the final poem in the domestic violence section in the middle. And I hope it's a healing poem. I hope you hear the healing. 3 variations near a mountain. So do not be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Matthew 10:31. 1. I have grown phoenix feathers across my shoulder blades, elbows, wrists, arms open, flowing mid-air. I soar through broken mornings. Ants scatter on bathroom tiles. Earthworms roil in rain-soaked dirt. To die numerous times, but never die. A hand can slap a face. A hand can clench a hammer. A hand can break windows, shrines, bones. Death becomes our fragile bodies. Juanita's fingers wrapped around a crucifix. She was no more of this world. She became clear wind-swept sky. 2. All this business of keeping the body warm, the you and I, prayers answered by prickly pear cactus in bloom, the quiet breath of knowing, a cool adobe wall under a desert moon. These fingers rustle pearly sands, grasp open doors, radiate other than despair, other than we're dead. The rough texture of a pinyon pine, the sharp point of a needle, a drop of blood smeared dry. Fingers pluck guitar strings, notes rise. We open to praiseworthy song. 3. Leaving my car in the parking lot, leaving a lion in a cage, a spider in a web, a shark in a cold sea, leaving behind. It was through my hands, my fingers, the skin and bones, I became the pinyon pine, the pearly sand. My mother held me close. She lifted me into this life. At sunrise, she manifests near a mountain. May love continue. En tiempos buenos y en tiempos malos, say yes. Nestle down low para siempre, Juanita, my mother, Her fingers never let go. She rose into the sky only to stay. A bird lands on a branch, shakes loose a hillside, a wisp of cloud, all that we need. And when I look back at those times, I really know it is my mother's undying love that fortified my very soul and made me the person I am, or maybe kept me the person I am, right? Kept me the person I am. Because we're all beautiful. We're all divine. And life's trials sometimes wear us down and we forget about that. And we just need to remember and go back to that. I think, Patrice, that some of your poems were echoing the beauty of nature because that's who we are. And we have to remember that. We have to reach out and remember that. And because Mother's Day, I think I have, of course, various poems about my mother. So I'm gonna do maybe 2 poems about my mom here. So, I can spell better than I can pronounce it. He's a Buddhist. Thich Nhat Hanh. Yes, yes. So he wrote a little book, What Love Is, and I just picked it up. You know, it's one of those ones at the beginning where you go pay at a bookstore, and I picked it up. And it really stuck with me because in there it said, when you really love someone, you know them, right? And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Do I know my mother? Do I know my mother? My father? So I wrote a series of variations on the voice of my grandfather, my mother, and my father. So here's my mother's poem. And this is her voice. And she passed away. She lived a beautiful life. She passed away in '94. And at the funeral, I read this poem. And my family was there. All my cousins and aunts and all these people who knew her, they all heard her in this poem. They all heard my mom. So this is her voice. En la voz de mi madre. What Lola wants, Lola gets. Once I stole onto a train and rode all the way to León by myself. I was 14. I wanted to leave ese tío malvado and be with my brothers, but they sent me back. I didn't stay long. My first job was smiling. I was a receptionist behind a counter. I knew how to work, but they didn't pay enough. A Pan Am flight me llamaba a los Estados Unidos, San Francisco, LA, Downey, my kids, my job, my money that I earned, my house that I bought. Oh, see what I have seen. Oh, taste what I have tasted. We all have our secrets. I don't regret a thing. I hang a picture of Papa Chu above the TV. Our souls in the hands of the Father. No nos dejes caer en tentación y líbranos del mal. I still say it in Spanish, even though it's been over 60 years. Stepping on las playas de Ponoloya, my shoulders burned, freckles covered my back like a shawl of stars. And in that poem there, I've been reading around, so I've been in classes and sometimes students tell me about my poems. And that last line, freckles cover my back like a shawl of stars, I did imagine La Virgen de Guadalupe's shawl with the stars. So I made my mother La Virgen de Guadalupe. Why not, right now, right? We're all connected, right? We all go back to that beauty. Okay. Let me see, I have one, I'm trying to find one more poem about my mother. All right. Yeah, and so my mother and my father had a very contentious relationship, but they were separated, and my mother had a second marriage with Joseph, he's a wonderful man and things, but still my father was her, I don't know, we all have that relationship, right? And one time in therapy, the therapist asked you, what about your mother? And I told her, and she said, oh, she wanted to have children with someone she loved. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. She did love him, even though it was, explosive. Okay, so here we go. You needed that background so you could hear a little bit about this. Okay. Volcanic heat. With the lava lake roiling below, my mother stood at the rim of a volcano. She knew it was not too late. She sold a golden crucifix, said goodbye to her brothers, packed a medicine bottle with pulverized obsidian sand. The volcano inside her was quiet. She was calm. The volcano wasn't something she could lose. It would always be with her. When my father became a letter, my mother ate a wedding cake that no one could see. She became an unstoppable force. My mother turned up the music and began to dance. She curtailed the gossip, then heated a knife with magma flames to sever the umbilical cords of my brother and I. With the volcano's heat inside her, she had children outside of marriage. My mother changed the landscape. Molten bombs shot into sky, seismic booms rattled, fire rocks avalanched down, lava flowed, ash dusted sidewalks with poltergeists and premonitions of coming revolutions. She continued to create possibility by curling hair and setting rollers. My mother did the impossible. In her old age, with the heat and range of the volcano capped tight by cooled solid rock, she laughed as a cat chased my father's ghost up a tree. Thank
Wow, that was so fiery and good, juicy. I love it.
We all make our life. Isn't life like that? Fiery and juicy.
Fiery and juicy and good, wow. I'm just gonna close this out with a couple poems and then we're gonna say a big thank you to our poets. So as I promised, this is from Joy Harjo, Conflict Resolution for Holy Beings. And it's called This Morning I Pray for My Enemies. And whom do I call my enemy? An enemy must be worthy of engagement. I turn in the direction of the sun and keep walking. It's the heart that asks the question, not my furious mind. The heart is the smaller cousin of the sun. It sees and knows everything. It hears the gnashing, even as it hears the blessing. The door to the mind should only open from the heart. An enemy who gets in risks the danger of becoming a friend.
Wow.
So
What is the name of that book?
It's great. It's
Harjo.
Conflict Resolution for Holy Beings, Joy Harjo, one of our former and very illustrious National Poet Laureates. I think I neglected to say at the beginning that I was given the title Monterey County Poet Laureate Marie Boucher, so very honored to
Yes, congratulations.
be chairing our 7th annual poetry gathering, which has been a blessing to collaborate with my sister Rana Isa. I thought how to close this circle, so I'm calling this in this poem, which I wrote late February, as spring was just starting to bud in Monterey County. It's called After Circling. Did you not see the story inside the hollow of the log? And the one emerging from grinding stone covered with grass and lichen? Golden Eagle gives her blessing upon circle of two-legged gathering. When she circled, that was the only sign needed on a sunny day between storms. Earth keepers ask you to tread lightly on land. Sage hills sense footsteps of those who pass here. Rediscover your kinship. How are you related to the acorn, the mother oak, the stone, the seasonal creek, now flowing? We step lightly among shooting stars, lupin, golden violets, spring, tuning her colors to sing. Do not underestimate the power of badgers and ground squirrels, burrowing tunnels to reach their mates. At nightfall, do you not hear the great horned owl recalling tales of those who came before? All is sacred, above, below, beauty all around. You do not have to look far, go within. Thank you. Thank you to our beautiful trio of voices. Patrice, Laura, Adela, thank you for taking time out of your day. And we really hope that to see more of our community for the rest of our week-long series. Tomorrow I'll be at the PG Library with the Stu Reynolds Sextet, 6:30 to 8. Wednesday, we will be back in the garden here in Miss. Also a lunchtime gathering for Earth Day, 12 to 1:30. Thursday, Rana and friends will be delighting us with the lyrical lines from the lands of the mystics, Arabic and Turkish poetry and music. Friday, we are in Salinas to welcome some other Chicana and Latina ladies, another Adela Castillo, Aidid Medina, and Kadiri Bakar Hernandez at the Downtown Book and Sound. That will be Friday, and then that's at 6 o'clock. Saturday, Rana and I will be merging with the Old Capitol Books crowd, and that's 6 to 8. And then they have all sorts of folly going on the weekends, so lots of poetry. And finally, concluding, also there's a free workshop on Saturday with Dale de Pilates from 10 to 1 at the East Village, and our final gathering of our local community at the East Village Sunday 3 to 5. So thank you everyone, thank you for coming, thank you for being here. Blessings to everyone, see you soon and be well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.